Hello, techies. Let's talk about Upptalk before we get started with the video. Upptalk is an online community for live, interactive software training, creating confident individuals capable of using global business tools. Without further ado, let us get to the point. Let's speak about Pega CSSA in this training video. The Pega Certified Senior System Architect, PCSSA, certification verifies that you can design and construct for reusability across many business lines using Pega. It entails following best practices, understanding application debugging and performance tuning, and resolving an application's security and access requirements. The topic that we'll cover in this video is to create application for Pega CSSA. Please like and share if you find this video helpful, and subscribe to our channel to be alerted whenever a new video is uploaded. Sneha will go through the topics discussed in this video in depth. Let's get right to the topic.
So now let us go ahead. We will start with the very first step of working on Pega is creating your Pega application. Okay. So here I am using a Pega's personal edition here. Okay. So then I think we'll go ahead. I'm going to log in with the super admin, whatever you can call it, which administrator@pega.com, and install is going to be my password. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, let me just close this.
The version will be working is 8.5, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
So let me log in. Okay. In the meanwhile, while it loads, so each studio is divided into 4 parts. Right? Each studio is divided into 4 parts. So the top portion where you see the studio and where you see the application that it is pointing to is called the header area. Right? So you might have been aware of this, but just reiterating the terminologies. Okay. So the header area on where you get to see the application, then your configure, launch portals, search. So all that is part of the header area. Okay. And on the left side, where you can explore things, it could be case types, data types, records, favorites. Okay. So this left side is called your Explorer panel. Okay. So what is it called? It's called the Explorer panel. Let me just okay. So the top portion is your header area, whereas the left is your Explorer panel. Right? And then what is this called? The bottom part where you see issues, trace. Exactly. So it's your developer toolbar. Perfect. And the major portion of the screen where you actually work is your work area. Right? So it's your work area. Right. Your header, Explorer panel, developer toolbar, and work area. Now, you expect these things to be same across all the studios? Would it be the same? So is it like?
I think so. It will be same.
header area would be same across all the studios?
No, it will be different because we'll need to
Right,
have different sort of things on different studios.
exactly. So talking about developer toolbar, so would it be same across all the studios? Definitely not. So when it's on the dev studio, like I will have the highest privileges of debugging things or looking at some issues. But when it comes to app studio, I don't need my BA to work on issues, or I don't need my BA to debug things, right? So according to the studio, the entities on these areas might differ, right? And probably that's the whole purpose of having different studios for different people, right? So yes, we cannot expect the things to be same across all the studios. They are respective to the studio. So when you look at developer toolbar, I will have only limited set of actions available on the app studio. Right? Yes. Okay, so then let us go ahead and we will try to create our first Pega application. Seems like this is still loading. We are just reloading this once. Are you able to see the studio, the dev studio here?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Seems like this is taking time.
So while we'll be developing this application, we'll be using the same application for all the concepts, right?
Right, yes, yes. So where do we start the application creation with? How do we start that? Any guesses?
The path you're asking, right?
Right, right.
So we can click on the application
Right, yes.
on Pega platform,
Menu.
new
Right,
application.
Perfect. Yes. So this is your new application creation wizard. So we use this term called wizard a lot in Pega, because wizard is like a step-by-step process of achieving something. Okay. So this is a new application wizard. There are a lot of other wizards as well, right? Like for skimming, there is a wizard, and then there is one for optimizing a property, there is a wizard. Then for your localization, there is a wizard. Likewise, we have multiple wizards for different requirements, right? So wizard is something which involves some set of steps and an outcome is involved in. So as part of a new application creation wizard, the system is asking what kind of application you would like to build. Okay. So we have two types here. One is classic, the other one is Cosmos. So classic involves the conventional UI kit. I mean, here the difference is the user experience, right? How would the UI be? would you like to go with an advanced bit of UI? You can go with Cosmos, right? If you would like to go with the conventional UI kit, which Pega has been using from a lot of years, then you can go for the classic. Okay? So the only difference is the user experience part here. Okay? So first we'll build the classic type, then we'll come back to the Cosmos. Okay? So let me select the classic. And as I chose classic here, I don't have any predefined templates available. So this is just like a plain sheet of paper. I don't have anything just directly available on it for reusability. Okay. So like I said, no predefined case types or data types. Nothing is already available. So everything has to be built from scratch. And when I say that, I can still reuse the basic OOTB features provided by the platform. Those are still intact for me, right? The basic Pega rules application is still available for me. I can reuse things from there. But just by using Classic, I don't get to see any predefined templates available. Okay, let me go with this application type. Okay, so what kind of application are we going to build? Okay, so let's take an example of probably, let's take an HR services application. Okay, and before clicking on create, the most important thing is your advanced configuration. Okay, where you decide what kind of application you're going to build, for whom are you going to build, what is your class structures, all that is part of the advanced configuration. Okay, the first thing is the application settings, where you decide the type of the application structure, whether you want it to be framework or you want that to be implementation. Now, how do I decide this? On what basis can I decide framework or implementation? Any guesses?
So if we want to reuse the code somewhere, we'll make it a framework. And if we have to customize it for some specific thing, we'll go for implementation.
Exactly. Perfect. So framework is when you talk about reusability, right? So one of the capabilities of Pega platform is extensible applications, which means using this platform, you can create your own frameworks. Okay. What is a framework? Framework is nothing but a set of code, a set of rules that is available. And if required, I can reuse it. Okay? Someone has already built it and I can just reuse it. Okay? So you can decide whether is there a scope of reusability for your application. If yes, go for the framework type. Okay? Otherwise, if it's customized entirely for a specific requirement, you can go for the implementation. Okay? Good. So let me define my application ID. Let it be HRS, which is the unique identifier for your application. Good. Then I have a version O1, O1, O1. Now what is it? Why do I have three versions here? What is this O1, O1, O1?
So the first one is for the major, if we have any major enhancements in our application. The second one is for the minor enhancements, and the last one is for if we have any bugs or patchwork, if we have to do, we'll use that version.
Right. So this is your major version, this is your minor version, and this is your patch. Right? Yes, like you said. So this version goes for your bug fixes or issues or for defects, whereas this version for minor enhancements or probably any interim releases will go with this, whereas major enhancements will go on to the major version. Good. Now, O1, O1, O1. Can I use this? Something like 21, 31, and 41? Can I? instead of over and over and over?
No, we should go in sequence.
We should go in a sequence, but the system is not stopping me if I use this, right? The system is not throwing an error, it's not stopping me. But the problem is, if I show this to a regular Pega developer, what would they understand is 20 major versions of the application have been released and you are on the 21st version now. Okay? Whereas 30 minor versions have been released and you are on the 31st. Similarly, 40 patch have been released and you are on the 41st version now. That's how they would interpret this, right? So it's always a best practice to start with 1 over O. Okay, so this is part of the best practice to start your application. Now, if you show this to someone, yes, they would understand that this is the very first version of the application. Right. So then the organization settings. Now, Pega's Enterprise Edition is not free of cost, right? You have to get it or you have to purchase it by getting a license, right? You have to pay for it. Now, the whole of this thing you paid for the license, then you are developing an application and all. Would you do it for an individual? Is it something like, Nayan wanted this, so I'm building the entire application for her? No. It has to be for an organization, right? It's always a business to business kind of scenario, not a business to individual or not a business to customer scenario here. So always Pega application involves organization structures. Okay. Now, which organization are you building this application for? I'll just name it some XYZ organization. Right? Yes. Now, within the organization, you might have different departments, right? Like there could be IT, admin, HR, finance. So division and unit are like the sub aspects of your organization. For example, if HR is my division, within HR, I can have multiple, different subdivisions. As in like HR employee engagement could be there, HR onboarding could be there, or HR recruitment, HR resignation. So different teams in HR could be there, right? HR employee engagement could be my unit. Okay, so your division and unit could be functional aspects, or they can also be geographic locations. Okay, something like this. Or it can be a combination of both, depending upon what or where you're targeting this application. Okay, they can be functional aspects or they can be geographic locations. Right? Yes. Now, on this basis, we will have class structure being defined. Okay, your class structure is a combination of application settings and organization settings put together. So here is my organization, and here is my application. Right. Okay. So this class group is where, this is like the parent class where your case types would be defined. So if required, I can also change this class group name, but as a best practice, we will always go with the work only. As a best practice, again, just like how we go with O1, 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 similarly, it is work. But if required, I can change it, definitely. I can. But generally, as your case types are work types, we suggest that you use the name as work here. Okay? Because this is where your business transactions are defined, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So looking at the class structure, I can identify that this is a framework application because I see an FW here. It represents that this application or this class structure is related to a framework application, right? Yes, it seems like everything looks good. HRS version, organization looks good. So let me save it. and we'll create the application. Okay, as you know, creation of this application means creation of a lot of. Okay, so this is still loading. The application is yet to be created. So once the framework application is created, what we'll do is we'll create some case types. Okay, and we will try to them in another application. I mean, we'll also create an implementation application. We'll see how the reusability is coming into picture.
So when we click on this create application, what all things are created in the background?
So one thing is your application development rule. And you will have the organization division units. You will have a set of access groups created, right? Then you will have some access roles created as well. Then your rule sets, yes. Then different kind of rule sets, the organization, then your organization int rule sets, then your application int rule sets, then few work queues, work groups. So all these things would be created by default. So earlier we used to create these manually. So this wizard has made it a lot more easier now.
So before 8 version, we used to create it manually.
Right. Before 8, yes. So I mean, even in 7.2, starting from 7.2, I think we got this wizard available. So it's like in 6 versions, it used to be a manual effort.
Okay.
Right, okay. Yes, let me create the application. Okay, so once the application is created, we'll create some operators as well. So we can either create an admin or an author. So let's create a couple of operators, and once we log in into the application, we can create more operators.
Okay. If I give the name of the application here, say HR services, and I do not go to advanced configuration, I directly go to create application. Then what sort of application will get created? A framework or an implementation one?
So by default, it will be the implementation type. It goes to the implementation. But the problem is you cannot select an organization there. The system will already have a default organization, and with that your application will be created. Right? But ideally it has to be with the organization that you specified, isn't it?
Yes, okay.
So sometimes, even without clicking on advanced configuration, we would just click on submit or create application. So yes, there are scenarios like that.
Yeah, I only did that once, so that's why I wanted to know the importance of advanced configuration.
So it goes to the implementation type and with the default organization. I assume it would be something like QSC for something, which is of the default organization name.
Okay, so the class structure also will be according to the default ones which is given.
Exactly. So it wouldn't be the one that you wanted. right? Because you cannot create with a random organization name like that.
Okay.
So yes, let me create an operator, admin@HR, and I want that to be an administrator role. So once I get the default password, I would like to log in. Yes. Okay, let me just make a note of it, just in case. Now either I can just click on done to close the wizard, or I can either directly log off. Right? So I think I'll just go ahead, log off. So now if I log in with this admin@HR, which studio will I be launched?
It will be the admin studio.
Right. Why? Because the role that we have chosen is an administrator. So by default,
Yes.
it would be launched onto the admin studio. Perfect. So let me just log in.